Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Document Excellence Group meeting, probably the first meeting for many or most of you, and we'll talk more about that. And we're going to talk about the Document Excellence Group's expansion across the US, but really into North America as well, because we do have some representation from Canada that we're excited about. So I am Judye Releford, and you're going to hear from Sherry Kappel as well. I know many of you, but many of you I haven't met yet, so I look forward to that. A little bit about me. I've been working in law firms, I always say, since I was a wee little girl. My father was a lawyer and my mother was a legal secretary. So some of my early memories include watching my mother holding a document up to the light to see the alignment and hearing about pleadings in the legal sense and seeing paper with rules and numbers on it. But I started working in word processing during college. And after that, my desire was really not to pursue broadcasting my degree. It was really to pursue software and to become a software trainer. And so I was able to do that. I loved it, worked in a college for many years and found myself working with law firms, kind of full circle again, and then eventually moving to software development, which is where I've met and worked with many of you on the implementation side of software for law firms, and then also as a trainer, and I now work for Litera. Sherry?
Thanks, Judy. So my story is somewhat similar, Judy, in that I began actually as a journalist, and when it was at an era when the change in technology, it was incredible. And what started to happen is we would do all of our investigative articles, for the newspaper, and I sat and drafted right at the typesetting equipment. And so literally every 6 months, it was a new piece of equipment or a new piece of software. And there was this moment, it was like a before and an after, this moment when all of a sudden I realized I really enjoy this technology. I'm quite seduced by it. I think I'm going to go work on the technology side and treat it like a journalism, effort. So that's why I did a lot of writing around Word and about tips and tricks and things like that. And fast forward, I am also employed at Litera as an evangelist and have been a Document Excellence Group member maybe quite since just after their beginning. And so thrilled to have you all here today so that we can spread and expand the word about the Doc Excellence Group. So with that, let's talk a little bit first, just to say, Litera is also sponsoring this webinar, so we certainly thank them today for that. We are going to give you a bit of an overview about the Document Excellence Group and what brings us to this discussion and expansion today. We'll talk about the membership drive, what you can do to help, and we'll speak about a few events of the Document Excellence Group that are next.
So let's talk about our new expansion into the US and North America. So 3 things, these are 3 common questions that we get. One is, what is the focus or the aim or the mission of the Document Excellence Group? So primarily document production issues and practices, to share our knowledge, our experience, and our expertise. And then our goal is to prepare our professionals and organizations for significant changes ahead.
And on that note, Judy, I just would like to mention a few of those things that we're all anticipating, right? If you are, I really feel this is like the era when I began my, foray into authoring technologies way back when. We are right now at a big moment of change. It's a shift from, say, desktop applications to more cloud-enabled applications. Shifts in our business, how we across North America, especially, and even in Europe, we are all of us doing business differently in law firms. And so there are new skills required from us, and there are new people and new roles we need to groom. And so this is a really important time, I feel, for the Document Excellence Group.
Great. So a little bit about the origins of the Document Excellence Group. It began in 2004 with a small collection of firms in London, but they now boast close to 1,000 individual members, representing 400 organizations across legal and financial services. So to embrace this group and to widen the focus, the organization decided to include international members, so hence the expansion to North America. The new scope and rebrand was actually launched at Document Excellence Day, which is held annually, and last year it was on October 2nd. And you'll be hearing more about that annual conference, and you know, you're welcome to attend it as well.
So on that note, the membership of the Document Excellence Group incorporates so many roles. It takes a village to make a document. Would we not agree, Jim?
I love that. Absolutely.
I think the other interesting influx of members is that role of, say, lawyers working in either a KM capacity, a precedent management capacity. I think even automation specialists, helping people to understand how to design proper workflows. The trainers, template designers, all of us are in support of the document deliverable of our organizations.
Yeah, we all, Sherry, could have laid out that slide as a flow chart, because all of those different roles affect document production, you know, in a way.
I could see in between each square there, Judy, like handoffs, you know, like a hand.
Exactly.
Like, you know, it literally, it takes a village, and there's so much workflow around all of this, right? And so again,
Exactly.
we're pointing out that these new skills and new roles and new entrants into this organization are very critical. I think it's important that we acknowledge the organizing committee of the Global Document Excellence Group. This is taken from the Doc Excellence Group website. If you haven't been there to register, please go after the webinar today. But Andrea and Angela and Annette and Claire and so many others have been working behind the scenes, organizing this group and recognizing and acknowledging the need for this expansion. As a matter of fact, Claire Waller is here all the way from London on our webinar today, so we appreciate her taking her time to participate as we launch across North America. So I wanted to take a quick moment and share with you a bit about the establishing cadence of activities from our London group. Again, they have a website. We are in North America certainly able to partake of content from there as well as contribute to there. Each year, as Judy mentioned, there is a Document Excellence Day, and this goes from, say, 9 o'clock in the morning all the way through to a networking event afterwards. And the sessions that were held there, folks from Templify talked about best practices of putting together new templates. A gentleman from Microsoft actually showcased for us some new features and capabilities coming in Teams that involved, interestingly enough, co-authoring on a piece of a document through Teams, not the whole document. So really fascinating stuff coming. There was a session, this was fantastic. It was an entire panel of folks who lead document production groups within law firms in London, and they had a panel discussion about what it requires for recruiting, what it requires for training, what some of the requests their groups were getting. It was a fantastic day. And then throughout the year, they host networking events, periodic webinars. You're going to hear about one of those at the end of the session today. And equally collaborative initiatives. So one of them is for Europe. they have established a standard set of house styles that are used for a particularly complex agreement that everyone does there. And the naming of the styles is really the key. The naming is the same, so that when these firms share content, they can copy and paste and really not have so many of the collaboration troubles they'd had previously. And then, of course, you know, community representation. So that means everyone from independent consultants to independent trainers to, again, suppliers and vendors who are contributing. So it was just a fantastic event. And again, it will happen next year, also in October.
So our immediate task, let's talk about what's next. So the expansion of the Document Excellence Group. So currently there's membership in New York. As Sherry mentioned, there was the most recent meeting was last October. To build the North American chapters, we're focusing primarily on California first, and you'll notice just because of kind of the culture in California, how we are dividing it up. So we're recognizing, you know, a group for the LA area, Century City. So LA would be like the downtown area, Century City, Orange County, San Diego, San Francisco. So, you know, we really need your assistance in spreading the word about these organizations. We'll be having, you know, local meetings that we'll want people to participate in. And then also expansion to Chicago and Toronto. So that's what our focus is on immediately. And then to identify leadership roles that we'll need, starting off in California. So we'll be talking about what some of those are. And then we have an invitation from ILTA to launch as, you know, our own community.
And I don't know if any of you have participated in ILTA's communities, but I think the really awesome nature of that is it's almost like think of it as a collaborative board on their website. And it's sometimes has been referred to as like birds of a feather conversations. But I think, you know, this is really worthwhile to consider. But again, we need members, and we need folks who can kind of help out and organize some of that. And then I kind of wanted to talk about another facet, I suppose, of the Document Excellence Group. As Judye mentioned, we're going to launch chapters across California. And of course, what we want to do is we want to host meetings, face-to-face meetings, periodically throughout the year. And so what we need, of course, for those face-to-face meetings is we need, aside from hosts, we need programming, like what topics should be presented. So I thought I would share some early examples of some things that you may not know about or may want to know about, and hopefully it will trigger some ideas for you to suggest some programming topics for upcoming meetings. So one thing that we have all faced in any kinds of directions is the management of information security. Now, one of the most notable examples that is going to appear on a desktop near you, if it hasn't already, and that is Azure Information Protection Services. It is essentially assigning information rights on any kind of Office document. It's referenced as AIP because anything Microsoft-y has to have an alphabet representation name. AIP, Azure Information Protection Services, and basically what it does is it allows you to set in your organization policies that say this is a collaboration where the person who receives it can fully edit it. If that person then went to try to forward it off to somebody who wasn't on that authorization list, they would never be able to open it. And so there are, you know, myriad considerations for us all about that, and none the least of which is that we as document professionals need to know about it. Equally, we all know and have experienced the radical shifts in our document management systems, their access on local or mobile devices, much less on browser-based integrations and collaborations, and really the impact of that workflow on our work, including and especially the influences of both Office 365 and the ability from all of these DMS vendors now to do collaborative authoring on those Office documents. So we have a lot of topics and early examples of some things we'd like to do programming on, but we know that, you know, there's a much broader list. And then of course we need people to help us schedule the upcoming meetings and events. And this is my, this is the fun one. So earlier, Judy and I mentioned that the DEG group sponsored the creation of a kind of standard set of house styles for an agreement. We have other collaborative initiatives that we'd like to launch. And the very first one that we've all been talking about, especially in honor of our organization becoming global, is that we want to build a global dictionary of terms for document production, so that when I work in word processing in New York and I refer to A in the whole, which is parentheses around a lowercase a in numbering, when I say A in the whole, somebody won't think I'm being, shall we say, colorful in my language. And yet there's equally, you know, unique terms, Judy, in all of the global areas and regions, right?
Absolutely.
If we all have a kind of common language, certainly a place to go look for that common language being used regionally. I think that it will be a fantastic collaborative initiative. And by the way, we know that what we're going to do is we're going to do this with Google Docs, because it's probably the best way for us all to achieve that. So that'll be a great experience if you're interested and able and willing to help us. Beyond that, I think we have some other initiatives, and we're certainly looking for ideas from all of you. So hopefully those things excite you and activate you and engage you into not only registering for the DEG, but participating as well.
So how can you help? I mentioned this several times, but to help us by driving membership, make your US based, we'll say your colleagues, not just in the US, but in Canada as well, make them aware of the expansion and what our needs are and what our goals are. If you have offices in New York or California or Chicago, consider hosting an upcoming local meeting. For these face-to-face meetings, it's nice to have them, you know, in a law firm's conference room. And of course, we'll assist you with the coordination of that, but we really do need some locations. And consider becoming a city rep. So, you know, in those locations, for California, there are obviously several locations that we need representation in. Regardless of where you're located globally, because everyone joining us today is not necessarily from these primary locations, but, you know, follow the DEG on social media. Sherry and I will follow up this meeting with information and elaborate on this contact information and the social media locations and where you can register to be a member of the DEG. Consider working on the upcoming initiatives. So the one that Sherry mentioned, you know, this glossary might be something that you want to participate in. Consider helping us by defining programs for these face-to-face meetings, you know, at the city level. So some ideas of topics. In addition to ideas of topics, if there are any that you would like to present, or you know someone that would be willing to present at some of these meetings. So recommend that your colleagues register for the DEG. We will provide that information to you again if you don't have it. Attend and participate in these webinars, and you will get some surveys upcoming that we hope you'll complete for us.
And as we queue up our kind of what's next, there's a couple of perhaps housekeeping things to mention. First of all, in your GoToWebinar panel, you have a little group that is called handouts. We have put this slide deck in PDF form on that within that handout section. So please grab that and download that, because all the links are active, and it'll give you a good thing to share with those colleagues, either within your firm or at other firms, peer firms that you know, so you can network with them about participating in the DEG. And then equally, there's a little drop-down panel in there called questions. And Judy and I want us to use that panel both for questions and answers. So for example, if you're willing to host a meeting, if you're willing to work on one of the collaborative initiatives or set up programming or the like, then certainly write into the questions box that you'd like to do that. And we can follow up with you after our webinar today. Equally, of course, feel free to put questions in there because we've allotted time today to answer those. So now, as we talk about what are some of the DEG's most immediate upcoming events, this is just so exciting. Julie McCarthy, who is a lead consultant for Ticket in London, is going to be presenting a, dare we say, deep dive discussion in webinar form available to all of the DEG membership about table styles. Now, Judy, what was your reaction to table styles when they first appeared on the scene?
Shock, but also excitement. You know, I hadn't really considered that before, but very exciting. But unfortunately, I've noticed that most people just kind of ignore them, but they're actually quite useful.
They are, and I think the thing that is the number one reaction I had was how they felt so complicated and they felt so buried. And so I am so eager to hear Julie talk about them and to, you know, diagnose some of the confusion, clarify some of the ways that we can use them in terms of best practices, and certainly how to set defaults. I think that's the number one place where we have challenge, isn't it? Is that we don't.
Yeah, I think people aren't aware that they can do that. And it does look so intimidating because there are so many table styles, as if there weren't enough styles to begin with.
Amen. Okay. So then another really exciting event, and in this one I need to honor one of our other supplier sponsors. Tracy Kraft of Kraft Kennedy in New York is going to be our gracious hostess once again in New York. Our next chapter meeting in New York, again, it's a face-to-face meeting at the Kraft Kennedy offices on 3rd Avenue from 9 to 11:30. So please put that on the calendar for you, or again, for any of your peers at firms with New York offices. Put that on your calendar and save the date and join us there. We'll be announcing the agenda very shortly. The registration link is up, although I believe not quite yet active. So just keep checking back. It will be up in the next day or so. But again, Thursday, March 19th, we're going to host our next New York chapter meeting.
So Sherry, this meeting will be kind of early for those attending, you know, on the West Coast, but I think this meeting is usually recorded.
Yes, we can record it. Again, Kraft Kennedy is certainly with much expertise. They're in fact the ones, Judy, who delivered the AIP session when
that was excellent
meeting in New York. And so one of the things they use is they use a Teams technology, and that goes ahead and not only records the meeting, but oh my gosh, also, what do you call it? Captions it, right? It captures the words to text.
Yeah,
it writes the notes for us all. So that's pretty cool. And then I wonder, Judy, any questions that we have received or that we can preempt and answer for our audience today?
I don't see any questions right now.
So maybe what we do really quick is we take you all out to the DEG site since we have a minute. There are some frequently asked questions about the DEG, pre-populated questions and answers here. And so be sure to check this out. And again, there is on the home screen announcement about the global expansion. All of the assets from the Document Excellence Day you'll find here. so again, please check out the site, register, join, share, and then we will have a meeting coming your way soon.
Very good.
Read about it all here. Oh, I think we have a question, Judy.
Okay, so, oh, good. So let's see. Oh, good. So we have someone interested in the Seattle area.
Cool.
Is, you know, where you can be the most useful. So kind of to expand that question out. So if you're not directly located in California, Chicago, or New York, yes, we do have some ways that you can be useful and helpful. So we'll share some information about that. But coming up, helping us to come up with program ideas for some of our webinars and face-to-face meetings. As we mentioned, if you want to deliver any content for any meetings, that would be helpful. If you have offices in some of the locations where we'll have face-to-face meetings, making them aware of the group.
That'd be great. And you know, when you said Seattle, it occurred to me, there's one of the frequently asked questions, Judy, on the DEG site. Do we have to work for a law firm in order to join the DEG?
Oh, that's good.
Not at all. If you are a leaning document geek like the rest of us, you work in support of authoring tools across Office, not just Word. If you are in any way involved in the processes which have to shepherd documents, again, we have lawyers who are members, even attendees today. And so you're welcome to join the DEG and participate from any community that is document facing. So with that, we thank you for joining us today. I don't know what happened to the thank you. It's not showing up. There was a thank you on this slide. We thank you for joining us today. There are Judy's and my contact information. And then if you have questions for the DEG globally, certainly send those along to info@docexcellence.com. And that concludes our webinar. Judy, thank you.
Great, my pleasure. Thanks everyone for attending.
Have a great afternoon or evening, whichever one you're to.
Bye-bye.
Bye.